Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vilmur. This is our second episode of 2022. And joining us now, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze. What's happening, Bobby?
Man, I've got a whole lot happening, you know. I got to see my coach this week, my trainer. Mm-hmm. We met up to the Olive Garden, and we had some breadsticks and some meat sauce.
Nice.
I kid. I'm doing quite well, man. My left eye, has recovered quite well. Went for a checkup the other day, and pun intended, got the all clear on that one. And go to see the surgeon again this Thursday to have the right eye done. And I'm just hoping it goes as good as the left one has so far. So I was able to actually started on Wednesday of this week. I've been able to see a little bit better, Professor. So I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm have a lot of gratitude.
Oh, so, fantastic.
Yes, sir.
While you've only got one eye, does that mean you just walk in circles, or how does that work?
Well, I kind of did. I had a patch on my left eye, and I put my right arm out, and I kind of walked in a circle like Bugsy McGraw would do coming out on an interview platform.
Oh, okay,
you know?
yeah.
Kind of throw it out there. And I think, shout out No Context Dusty, I think you saw me with my Ray Charles glasses on.
I certainly did.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I didn't have to wear them but a couple of days. It was very sunny. I would wear them, but just over my glasses, and they were pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't serve their purpose for what I needed it for, but everything's looking good.
That's excellent. Now, I got to apologize for Cow Dog. She is actually in a different room, but because I use a condenser mic, any sound that echoes at all comes through like it's right next to the microphone. So, so that's going to be kind of a pain in the ass, and I apologize now.
I thought she was on your lap.
Yeah, it sounds like she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's old Cow Dog doing besides being back there?
Oh, you know, she's a little feisty, and I discovered, depending on when you give a dog a treat, when you're trying to get them to drop something, they may not pick up drop as the command. They may learn to take TV remotes as hostages. So now when she wants something, she'll swipe a TV remote and hold on to it until she gets what she's looking for. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to break these cattle dogs are a lot smarter than I am used to.
Well, you might want to go in there and give her a damn remote right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I can shut the door. Let me try that. But I'm just afraid she'll start knocking at the door. I'll be right back.
Well, people, you heard the professor. He's taking care of old Cow Dog over there. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you all wrestling fans out there.
Nothing quite like recording live, you know?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, got a couple things we'll talk about here towards the middle or end of the podcast. We'll put in there some upcoming dates that I have coming up.
Oh, okay.
Some shows and stuff. But other than that, I think we have got a great topic this week with some very interesting professional wrestlers. And I'll let you introduce the topic and also preface this episode just a little bit there till we get to our list from our listeners. How's that?
Sure. So we are going to do top 10 British wrestlers. Now, for our purposes, we're treating all the islands out there, including the Irish Republic as well as Northern Ireland. These islands all go together as British islands as far as this list is concerned. So I don't want to get into a geographical debate with anybody. It's just the way we're handling it. And we are segmenting it off from the rest of Europe as well. So we're not going to get into a lot of the overplay where people go from the UK over into the continent itself. So I'm hoping we described that well enough, and I got that out of my head okay, but it seems to me like I'm stumbling over my own words. Bobby, you got some notes coming in here.
Yeah.
And I want to read the part of this one so we can have you describe what you're thinking here. This is not a top 10 British WWE wrestlers of all time list. Go create your own. There's already a couple of them out there. They're 6 years old. Update one if you have a YouTube channel.
That's correct. Because what I discovered, as you know, when you go Google something sometimes, it always goes to like Bleacher Report, WWE, and this and that. The same thing happened on YouTube. Now, we're going to give out some links, or at least the names of the channels I looked at. But the first couple pops up, and it's these, 10 great British wrestlers of the WWE, know. And they had their list. And, of course, they was modern day, within the last... I'm going to say 16 years because both the list or both the channels had it listed as 6 years ago. But again, it was just wrestlers that were from over in the UK that were nothing against any of them. But it's just listing the ones that made it to the WWE. And so I thought, we're not going to be doing that. We're trying to actually do, top 10 British wrestlers. With that said, we got a couple of lists from our listeners. I'm going to do the first one. I'll let you do the second one, and I'll do the third one if you don't care. How's that? So that's kind of what I want to preface it with, that you may not, if you're a big wrestling fan, you'll probably know all these people we're going to mention. If you're a WWE current product fan, you may say, why isn't this guy on there, why isn't that guy on there? It's because as we get through our program, you'll understand why I just now made that kind of blanket statement. And I encourage someone, if you have a YouTube channel out there, update it, man. Kind of makes me wish Tex was around so he could do ours. Because I think we've got a fantastic top 10, Jeremy. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
So I had 3 direct messages, and I'm not sure what went to the bell to bell, but I had one from Nick Boggs, and I've known Nick a long time, and he's a listener of ours, and he's also been a wrestling fan since I've known him many, many years ago. He's at Nick Boggs 10, and I just want to tell him, Nick, thanks for listening. Sorry, but I doubt any of your guys are going to make the list. He's got Will Ospreay, Pac, Drew McIntyre, Pete Dunne, Wade Barrett, and, of course, the British Bulldogs. And so that's a pretty good list. I respect it. We will be bringing up the British Bulldogs later on, if I'm not mistaken, Professor. But what do you think about that list? Pretty good list, right?
That's a good list. I think Drew McIntyre, I remember him more from a few years ago when they were trying to push him, and he still looked like a young kid. I've seen pictures of him recently, but I haven't watched a match. He looks like a badass nowadays, though.
Yeah.
Ospreay, guys, it's like watching a bird in the rain. The guy is fucking incredible. Pac, also a fucking badass. Pete Dunne, I'm not familiar with him. Wade Barrett, I like him better as a color guy than I do a ring guy. But and Bulldogs, like you said, we'll get around to them. So,
all right. I think you know this next person that wrote in.
Yep, Casey King, and he comes in with this list. Dave Taylor, which is a great choice. Nick Aldis, Nigel McGuinness, the Bulldogs. So we got a trend going here. Yep. Johnny Saint and Robbie Brookside. Great list. Nick Aldis, if I'm not mistaken, like 99% of Nick Aldis's career was here in the States, though. Yeah,
I think so. And I'll tell you this, we're going to bring up a couple of these guys later on, the Bulldogs, as you mentioned. Dave Taylor, that guy, I had the pleasure of working with him in a ring, and he's a very, very talented man. So that's a good choice. Nigel McGuinness, I never got to work with him, but I've seen him in person, several shows, and man, he can just go. He could go. Chad Collier, man, who I went to Japan with, and I toured England with as well. Man, him and Nigel, I saw them tear down some matches. They was getting ready for WWE tryout matches back in the day. And there was on several house shows that I was on, not for WWE, for other companies that put it out there. And man, Nigel's talented as could be. And we'll bring up Robbie Brookside and Johnny Saint in just a few minutes too, I'm sure. Any comments on any of those people before I move on?
Yeah, Nick Aldis. I mean, obviously a former NWA World Champion at this point, but a guy who was a great NWA World Champion while he was. If I'm wrong about his career, maybe he could have been on this list.
Right.
A couple of these names that we're going to come up with again, Dave Taylor was a great wrestler, but you've already no, I mean, I think I've kind of got everything out there about that one.
Okay. I think I'm going to get this guy's name right. It's Nigel Cody. Okay. He's at Irish Red 11. I couldn't even pronounce where he was from. He's from across the pond. Appreciate you writing in, Nigel. Hope I got that right. He has Cyanide, Sid Cooper, Robbie Brookside, Dave Fit Finley, Mark Rollerball Rocco. So I think a couple of those names may come up on our list. We'll see. But again, we see a Robbie Brookside on there. First mention of Fit Finley. I've heard Cyanide Sid Cooper's name while I was there. I was doing some research, and I did find some good channels, and I'll make mention of those as we get on through the program. Maybe he could have made our top 10. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. So what do you think about it, Professor?
Yeah, I mean, these are names that I am somewhat familiar with. Like, I've heard them. Like Brookside, of course, it keeps coming up. Fit Finley. Yeah. Did you ever wrestle Fit Finley?
Yes.
Okay.
I wrestled him in WCW.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit then, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
No, these are all good lists. Unfortunately, I'm probably not as familiar with European and British wrestling as I should be. I just kind of know the high spots, and I remember the episode of Are You Being Served where Mr. Humphries had to wrestle a guy. That was pretty funny. If you didn't watch the show, Mr. Humphries was a flamboyantly, possibly gay character who had to then take on a real professional wrestler. Yeah, it was pretty good. So yeah, those are all good lists. Bobby, what do you got to say about any of this? Or are you ready to move on to your next segment here?
I appreciate you guys. If I missed anyone else that sent us a list in, double check it. And we asked for these lists and sent it to Bell also. On Twitter or to Jeremy at the Geekish Cast, but those were sent to me directly, and I appreciate them very much. I was just going to make a mention. I was on tour over in England. I was over there in around August and September of 2000. And I just want to make mention of Paige. She's a phenomenal, talented person. She made her debut, at WrestleMania and won. And, her career cut a little bit short due to an injury. But I got to see her wrestle at a house show. And she 2 out of 3 fall match with Natalia. And, man, it was really, really good. But when I was in England, she'd only been about 8 years old. And I did meet her mom, sweet Saraya. She was managing one of the sons at the time at a show we did in Southampton. And so, there's a little girl there that had to be on a page, and there was 2 boys. And, again, I don't know which one was being managed by the mom. But Ricky Knight, I had already met him a few days earlier over on Isle of Wight, and that's Paige's dad. And on the Isle of Wight, you have to take the ferry over. And then after the show, you have to wait and hopefully not go over a time limit because you'll miss the last ferry back to the Southampton docks there. Well, anyway, I sat down, had a couple beers with Ricky Knight, and maybe even a shot of Jack or 2. But it was really nice to be 4 days. They was doing their own thing, and the promoter I was with, would bring different people in. I'd work for Scott Conway, and then I did a couple nights with Brian Dixon. Over there, and sometime we mixed crews, and so I got to meet them. And again, just saying, it was really cool to see someone that put the work in and become a success with their family business like they did, and had a movie made up and all that. It's just kind of cool that you had that connection. That hey, just sitting at a wrestling event one day, and next, here, fast forward probably about 3 years ago, so fast forward to say 18, 20 years, and their family's got a movie made about them. That's pretty cool. So I just wanted to mention that, man, because I really enjoyed my tour over there. I'm going to talk a bit more about it, but it was a good time, man. It really was a different time in my life, of course.
Of course.
Just want to tell you, if you're looking for a real quick history of British wrestling, check out our friend Dave from Dave Knows Wrestling. He's on YouTube. He's got an excellent 7-minute video. Watch it. Man, it's really good. He gets a lot in 7 minutes. He talks about wrestling, what was going on prior to World War I, what took place between during the 30s roughly before World War II, what came out of the war, and he condensed it all down into 7 minutes, and also talked about the rules, which we're going to be mentioning in just a few minutes, and just some different things like that to give Dave Knows Wrestling a look, and it's the history of professional wrestling on air. World of Sport Wrestling, there's a channel called UK Wrestling, the 1970s and 80s, and it has a lot of World of Sport on there. I think there's 36 videos on there, and many of the guys are in our top 10. And a lot of these guys are, obviously, they're younger because many, many years ago, but I'm talking about even earlier in their career before they were like getting a big push on the world of sports and stuff. And you can see them develop if you watch just a few of these matches. Really, really good. Like so-and-so trained so-and-so. And then you realize this kid's just 18 at this point. And then, you know, it's you see them develop. It's really good, especially if you like wrestling or you love wrestling like I do. I got caught up in it and went down a rabbit hole, you know, just like, okay, here's what I want to watch. And one of my students, we'll mention later on, but had mentioned something. And I said, yeah, I'll check that out for you. And checked it out. It was pretty cool. And so we had some ideas what we were going to do in the back of our head. And I thought, well, this would be a great week to do the British wrestling because I was already, you know, checking in on a couple of these guys that made our top 10. Anything there, Jeremy, you got? Add to that?
No, because I think we're gonna kind of get into something else here. I guess, you know, World of Sport was a TV show that ran in the UK for like 20 or 25 years. It was 5 hours long, and they would put also, you know, there'd be cricket, there would be, you know, soccer, everything would be on there, including pro wrestling, which was always presented in the UK as a valid sport. And as we'll get into here in a minute, they had some rules that might even have made it seem more sporting in a way, but we'll kind of get into that here in a minute because I have questions because I don't know them all that well. But before we do that, Bobby, why don't you sell a couple books?
All right, yes. My first book, Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. If you will go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1, it'll take you directly to the Amazon link where you can purchase that book. It has gotten over 110 reviews and ratings, averaging out to about a 4.5 rating. I'm very pleased with that. The professor, again, has given you a link directly to the Amazon link, and that is tinyurl.com/blazebook1, and that'll take you to Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. My second book, I kicked out on 2. The Educational Wrestler, I kicked out on 2. You can go to I'm wanting to get a drink of water, Jeremy. Sorry.
Yeah, go right ahead.
tinyurl.com/blazebook2. If you go to that, that'll take you to I Kicked Out on 2, The Educational Wrestler. Or I kicked out on 2. I'm sorry, man. I don't know if I want to cough, spit, or get a drink of water. I think I'll do all 3. But I know if you're listening through headphones, you can probably hear it. Yeah, anyway. Go to Amazon, use one of the TinyURL links, either Blaze Book 1 or Blaze Book 2. Purchase a book. We do get a small kickback from that, and we appreciate it very, very much. And I appreciate your reviews on the books. That's the greatest way you can thank an author is to write a brief review, a book review, and I know I appreciate one I've gotten on both books. And also, Jeremy, if you want to let them know what they can do to maybe leave a review on our podcast, we'd appreciate that as well.
Well, the easiest way would be to go to iTunes and leave one there. Or, I'm sorry, not iTunes anymore. Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, do that. Or you could go to our website at www.belltobellblaze.com. You can leave a review right there. You can leave us a voicemail right there. And that would probably be the quickest way, because I think if you do it on Apple, it actually shares to everybody else and becomes accessible from there. So that's probably actually the best way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that very much. All right, back to the program. You said you had a couple questions here.
Yeah, so the only time I've really been exposed to the rounds system was that brief syndicated show called AWF here in the States that had everybody that was retirement age basically was in it. Bobby, what was the breakdown? How did the round system work?
Okay, well, I was first familiar with this when I went to South Africa. I got smartened up to it real quick. Basically, it was like boxing. I was in the semi-main event. My matches were 2 out of 3 falls, with each round lasting 3 minutes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and Ron Starr was working one of the Tiger Jet Singh, and that was the main event. And the main event was 5 rounds of 5-minute matches. Now, we did a couple tag teams over there as main event. And again, those rounds were 5 minutes, 5 rounds of 5 minutes. So in England, pretty much they're made up of 6 3-minute rounds, okay? So you got to wrestle for 3 minutes, and then there was a 20-second break, and you had 6 of those. And it was one pinfall, a submission, or a count out. The round ends, and the match is over when one wrestler gets 2 of the 3 falls. Okay, I think that's pretty self-explanatory on that. Now, also, you can have, again, 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 7, depending on, what kind of contest or how long they're promoting the match as to the further up the card. The rounds. So what you do is it's kind of crazy. I got to do this in England, and so I was a little bit familiar with it from having been in South Africa. And most of my matches there were 2 out of 3 falls, and I had 3 minutes, okay, to get my stuff in. And in a way, I might, knowing we're going 6 rounds, but I might be able to, we're only going to do maybe or 2 out of 3 falls. The first round, I may put the baby face over and make him look good. And I've got 3 minutes to do that in.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a 20-second break. And, of course, I might be pissed off because he either got a pin fall or more likely not a submission, okay, at that point. That would probably be more at the third round usually. Or a count out. So maybe I've got a pinfall or a count out because I was getting pissed off and tired of it as a heel. So he wins the first one. But then the second one, of course, in order to be able to, because it's no use to have 2 out of 3 falls if just going to put him over clean in 2 rounds, okay? You can get interesting matches out of that, but of course you're trying to work towards that third round when it's tied 1-1. Mm-hmm. So the second round, I'm going to get my stuff in and get over on him and maybe get cheat a little bit, heel out a little bit, if you will. And once I do that, I get me a fall in. And now it's 1-1. So now we've got 3 minutes to determine who's going to win this contest. And again, it may be a 5-minute, it might have been 3 5-minute rounds, which I'm pretty sure that's what I was doing when I was there. And I've wrestled a couple of these guys on our list. I'll mention that again later on. But anyway, that's kind of how it works. And in that third round, what I did when I was in England, there was a really talented guy named James Mason, and he worked under a full body outfit and tremendous talent. And I'd come out and I'd usually beat him, kind of contradicting myself here, maybe 2 out of the 3 falls rather quickly, okay? Mm-hmm. Basically, enhancement talent, also establishing that we got this big American over here, but he's going to be wrestling in the main event. And so I would make, a good match, boom, 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 beat him 2 out of 3 falls or, 2 falls in a row even. And maybe, again, 6 minutes. So you got a good 6-minute opening match. I established myself as, the heel, the evil American, And then, of course, I'm going to wrestle someone like Robbie Brookside in the main event, or whoever they brought in for that show, okay? Again, I'll get into that more when I talk about Robbie later on. But anyway, so that's kind of the way. And then you'd go to the main event. again, maybe those were 3 or 5 minute or 6 minute rounds, you know. So that's kind of the layout of it. So I didn't suck it up too much.
Yeah. What did you think of wrestling in that system? I mean, what are the pluses or minuses that just real quick that you noticed compared to a single fall match?
For me, you know, you get going and then you have to bring it down because you just got pinned 1, 2, 3, that first one, you got 20 seconds. It just, to me, it was kind of a mind fuck because you're just now getting going, you know, like I'm really getting this guy over, I'm getting him over, and all of a sudden you got to take the pin, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you know, you're getting them over, and instead of taking a pin, you continue to get them over just a little bit more before you cut them off, you know. And then you don't have it 20 seconds because when you do cut them off after 3-5 minutes, you start getting your heat in, you know, boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden over there, you know, you're getting heat in, and then he's either going to, you're going to throw him out to be a count out, or you're going to pin him, or possibly make him submit in that second round. And, you know, which he's a baby face, he's probably not, just saying, but you got to slow it back down again. And then you start that build up for the third. So it's different, but it's adaptable. And I think it does lend to some credibility to kind of keep it, you know, in a tradition that they have established it to be in, that's what the people, it's all about how you educate your fans. You know, not a bunch of people are yelling wrestling, you know what I'm saying? They're there seeing wrestling, you know. So, and if you watch Dave Knows Wrestling YouTube, he brings up the Admirable Lord Montavon's rules that were set for professional wrestling that's used in British wrestling. The first Baron Montavons, he ordered a set of rules that were written up for professional wrestling in the British Isles. And I think what I understood when Dave was saying this, if you, they got into, there was a time period where they got into weapons and gimmickry too much. And people were like, this is, you know, I don't know what the wording would be on that. Like, it's sketchy, you know?
Yeah.
And so they started this rules, and from my understanding, they had to have an established wrestler or two on the card so no one could go in and say, oh, this is baloney, or this is, you know, crap, or it's just guys hitting each other with weapons, and there's no wrestling when you're advertising wrestling. So anyway, that way the promoters could advertise it as modern freestyle wrestling, so they had actually legitimate wrestling on the program. So those rules brought that back. That when the fans were going to see a match, they were going to see professional wrestling by law, authorized by the Home Office and the Metropolitan Police. You know, and also they did weight divisions as well. There's 7 weight divisions, so it just kind of cleaned things up. Let's see, you know, there's legal techniques they can use, you know, such as half Nelsons, quarter Nelsons, full Nelson, you know, different things like that. A wrestler's bridge, scissors, flying mares, and things like that. A fall could be awarded by a pinfall, submission, a knockout, or disqualification. So, you know, they just have rules, man, that they follow, and you don't see it a lot, even here in the United States. You know, what are the rules anymore? You know what I'm saying? Rules are there for a reason. And when you have the rules, especially if the guys follow the rules and the referee's doing his job, it makes for a better show, you know. So I hope I've cleared it up for any questions you had about the rules. But they're there for a reason. Pretty much, you know, there's a book that was going around on a sheet of paper or something on Twitter, and I'm sure Facebook everywhere, had I think it's 1974 NWA Handbook of Rules about tag teams and about singles matches. You know, so there's rule books out there, and if you follow those, to me, as a wrestling fan, again, you put the referee in a position that, you know, he is officiating a match between 2 gentlemen, okay, or 2 females, whatever the case may be, and that they're going to have a legitimate competition, and you're going to abide by these rules, and at some point, someone gets out wrestled and a heel turn happens and they break one of these rules, and that's how you establish your good guy, your bad guy, and you build up and your finishes. What can, you know, there one time I think NWA, you could throw someone over the top rope, or couldn't follow someone over the top rope, and in WWE, you could throw someone over the top rope, whatever you was watching at the time. The pile driver being outlawed, maybe the AWA, and that's the reason that, when someone done it, man, it really meant something because they broke the rules, possibly breaking someone's neck, So that's just kind of my rant on the rules. But yeah, that's kind of what it is, man. I think rules are there for a purpose, and if you follow them in professional wrestling, I think it makes for a much better in-ring product.
Well, if you don't have rules or a set of rules and somebody to enforce them, how do you have a rule breaker?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you set up a story with any structure or consistency or recognizability without rules?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I remember when Bill Watts would put in WCW, when he put in the no over the top rope and no off the top rope stuff, it slowed the matches down quite a bit compared to what we had gotten used to. But, I get why he did it. So when somebody did it, it would matter.
That's what I liked it. Even though I might slow it down just a bit, then you see the referee turn his back and then someone flying over the top rope or someone jumping off the top rope and delivering a, devastating move. That move really meant something, or it really meant something to the outcome of that match if someone got thrown over that top rope. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope that clears that up. So now we'll get to the meat of our podcast, folks. This is the top 10 British wrestlers. We're going to start from number 10, and that is Big Daddy. Jeremy, you ever heard of Big Daddy?
I'll tell you what, he is probably the most famous name I have heard from British professional wrestling. And by that, I mean, anytime I've talked to somebody in the UK who grew up on British wrestling rather than American wrestling, they always talk about Big Daddy.
Yeah,
always.
Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Shirley Crabtree was his name. I put him on here maybe not for his skills, but for his gimmick. But he was 6'6", 375 pounds, a world-breaking 64-inch chest at one time. He worked for the Joint Promotions and the original British Wrestling Federation. He initially appeared on TV as a heel. He teamed with Giant Haystacks. After he split with Haystacks, he became a fan favorite and a top star of the Joint Promotions in the 70s and 80s. And I think his brother was one of the promoters, if I'm not mistaken, or owned a company. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, he got a huge push over there. Big man. Kind of reminds you of a bigger, taller Dusty a little bit, if you ask me. But I had the privilege of having a day off when I was over there in England. And Robbie Brookside had a couple of VHS tapes, and I wasn't going to be at the Travel Lodge that day. Robbie was going to a town. I wasn't for some reason. Anyway, he gave me a couple VHS tapes, and one of them was nothing but about 2 hours of Big Daddy wrestling. And I sat in the promoter's apartment there, man, and just I watched about, maybe an hour and a half of it. 2 hours, I can't remember how long the video was. But nonetheless, I like, holy shit, this guy's over, because I kept hearing guys tell me, you got to see Big Daddy, you got to see Big Daddy. And I did, and I enjoyed it. And there's a lot of his matches out there on YouTube. I'll say that. And you can see just how over the guy is. And I guess him and John Haystacks, man, they must have had some good matches together and then against each other. But I can see where he became a fan favorite, man. When you watch it, he's just a big, jolly guy, man, that kind of cracked me up, but in a good way,
Yeah.
So I got him at number 10 is what we came up with. So...
yeah, I have to figure if you grow up with a name like Shirley Crabtree, you have to have a good sense of humor and you have to be able to kick somebody's ass when push comes to shove.
It's kind of like a boy named Sue, isn't
it? Exactly.
Oh, man. I was down by the Crabtree the first time she showed it to me. It was hairy and black. She called her a crack, but it looked like a manhole to me. Stay away from that Crabtree, boy.
Oh, man.
See, there's a fight right there.
Oh, boy, you ain't just whistling Dixie either. Oh, okay. Let's go on to number 9. You're going to have to help me out with some of these guys because I don't know them real well.
Okay.
I will start the list here. I'll read the name and then you tell me what you know about him, okay?
Okay.
Marty Jones, who I thought was one of the original members of the Monkees, but it turns out I'm wrong.
Yeah. But this is the English professional wrestler. He worked in joint promotions and all-star wrestling throughout the 80s and 90s. He was a prominent holder of the Montavon's World Mid-Heavyweight title. Like I said, they had 7 weight divisions there. Mm-hmm. But he was also responsible for training someone that would come up with this list, William Regal. So I thought that's pretty cool, man. I heard his name, and if I'm not mistaken, when I went to London, I met Marty and several other people there. Stephen Wright was there, and I'm pretty sure Marty Jones was one of the guys. He had a young boy there. He had been training at the time. But he made his wrestling debut at the age of 18. You'll notice a lot of these guys in England start really young.
Yeah.
But in 1972, he won his first singles match. In 1976, when he defeated Rollerball Mark Rocco, a name we're going to hear a little bit later on, British lightweight heavyweight champion. Main thing I know about him is he's had some really, really good matches I've seen on TV, and I knew that the boys, anytime I was around the English guys, they always mentioned and put over Marty Jones, man. What a talented guy he was. So he held the British Commonwealth Tag Team title with a young Steve Wright in the late 70s. And Steve Wright, when I mentioned that name, was for a reason. That's
the comedian, right?
Wonder Kid.
Oh.
The Wonder Kid from WCW. What's his name? Alex Wright. It was his son. The one I kicked out of the fucking German suplex on.
Wait a minute. They're pushing off a German as a British wrestler?
But no. The Wonder Kid, Alex Wright from Germany.
Yes. No,
Stephen Wright was a German wrestler.
Okay.
But anyway, that's his dad was over there, and he was there. I think it was him and Marty Jones. Several other people came to a show we did in London. Of course, I didn't tell them, "Hey, I kicked out your son finish," but I'll get to that story later. I'll get to that story later on. And it's not to be compared to, since we're talking Marty Jones up here, it's not the country singer either, Jeremy. And Steve Wright is not the comedian from Boston. So just so you know.
Okay. For tax purposes, yeah.
Okay, there you go. So number 9 is Marty Jones. Let's move on to number 8. I'll let you start with number 8, and then I'll tell you a little bit about this gentleman. We already plugged our website, so.
Yeah. Number 8 is Dave Fit Finley, who, a tough son of a bitch, but you worked with him, so tell us how tough he was.
Oh, man, he's so tough, I'm telling you. One of the most legit guys I've been in the ring with. I had no problem with him outside the ring, nor inside the ring, because I had respect for him. And I think he had seen me enough to know that I could work and had enough respect for me. And we had a couple matches. We did them on the the Universal tapings down there in Florida. And, you just get in a ring with him and work. That's all you do. Didn't have to call a whole lot, man. He was just one tough son of a gun. And I knew how good he was. I don't think we called anything except for the finish. And when he used to snap mare and give you that kick to the back, you better be ready to tighten your back because, man, he would lay it in there. I had no problem with it because I knew the style. Just saying, he'd kick the shit out of you if you wasn't ready for it, man. But I always respected the guy a whole lot, man, a whole lot. And I was honored to work with Fit Finley. And going back and watching some of his matches, I mean, this guy, he broke in, again, a teenager. The first match with his father's promotion in Glen in 1974, we filled in for a wrestler who no-showed. I was going to tell you, he's from Welsh. That was was he from, where's he from? He's Ireland, right? Is that what it said? Northern Ireland?
Yeah, from Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland, okay, yeah. Of course, we know him now as a trainer-producer, signed to WWE to produce. He was in WCW from Fit Finley from 95 to 2000. That's when I worked with him. I guess he's been with WWF or E for over 20 years now. I think both his sons are wrestling now, if I'm not mistaken, too. One of them is named Dave Finley, and I can't think of the other one's name. But yeah, man, if you watch some of those tapes on here, I didn't know who this was. I had an idea who it was. His then wife, Princess Paula Valdez, became his manager. She wears this Indian, like Native American, but I guess it's Native England. I don't know what she's supposed to be. She's an Indian, and she managed them on all those matches on that World of Sport. And you watch his matches there, and you can see how vicious he is. And I had one of my friends from Australia was on tour with him over there in Germany one winter. And he was telling me how tough he was, too. And of course, this is before he went to WCW, so I was familiar with his name. The thing I heard about Dave Finley, and I believe it to this day, I heard that he never once, well, here he had this match back in 1974. Let's see, said it wrestled throughout Northern England and Republic of Ireland for the next 4 years before moving to England in 1978. I heard that he never, ever once caught a promoter looking for work. That Dave Finley was such a talented person. Anytime that he wanted a booking, people were always calling him and giving him dates, and he would take bookings. Yeah, I heard he never, and I've heard it from several people. That man, you know, when maybe something wasn't going right in England, he got a call from Germany. You know, got a call to Japan. He just took his bookings like an independent contractor, but he never once had to go out and say, "Can you book me in next month or on this show or on this tour?" And I find that pretty amazing, and I do believe it's true. Of course, I'm a fucking mark. What can I say?
Well, you know, I mean, and if it's not true, it's a good story. So I'm not I'm not gonna take any points away. So one of the things that I believe that you and I have talked about before is that a lot of these British wrestlers, when they lay into you that European uppercut and their forearm shots, they're stiff.
Oh yeah.
Is that a trademark of British training? And what do you attribute that to, do you think?
I contribute it to them keeping it real, the British training system, getting them young boys in there and actually having some wrestling ability, kind of a smarten up Jack. You know, we're not gonna be throwing these phony punches and hitting you behind the hair on the chin or glazing you. We're going to I'm going to give you an uppercut, and you're going to take it like a man. I'm going to give you a forearm, and you're going to take it like a man. And I'm going to hit you hard, as someone on this list has said. Regal has said it many times. I'm going to hit you hard, but I'm going to hit you in a place that's safe. I'm not going to be hitting you in the face. I'm going to be hitting you across the back, you know, and across the chest in the safe places, you know, but I'm going to lay it in there. And that I like that. That's the way it should be. Obviously, you could take your forearm, you're trusting your body with that opponent. They could take that forearm smash and bring it right across the bridge of someone's nose and easily splatter their brains, you know, bust their nose and bust their eye sockets and what have you. But when you do it the right way and you turn that person's head and you lay in that forearm or you lay in that European uppercut, you have no choice but to sell it. It'll rock you. But it also just enough to keep your bearings. You're like, oh, okay, I see how it is, you know. And they do it aggressively, and they don't take liberty with them. You know, they don't. They realize that you're feeding them, and that they've got it coming back. And I respect that too, because when you lay it in on them, they appreciate it that much more. They say, "Oh, this guy gets it," you know. And that's the way it should be. Just two gentlemen that's having a professional wrestling match, and it's not fucking ballet. You know, you're not in grade school anymore. You're a grown ass man, and I'm gonna rock you, but I'm gonna respect you, not punch you in the face or kick you in the nuts. I'm gonna lay it in somewhere, you know, that you got some meat on your body, and I'm gonna lay it in safe, but I'm gonna lay it in hard.
Yeah. That's I've always found that interesting. I'm sure I got another question or two that'll come up about the English or the British style here in a bit. Number 7. This is a guy I actually meant to look up a few times on my own, and this is Mark Rollerball Rocco.
Yeah.
What do we know about him?
Man, I tell you, I heard his name and heard his name. all over the place, not just when I was in England. But yeah, he's one of them guys. Again, I broke in early. He worked for his joint promotions and All Star Wrestling. He was a second. He was the original Black Tiger in New Japan, and I knew that, and I'd forgotten it. He worked for New Japan in the 70s and 80s. Now, you think about this, man. He was the fourth-generation wrestler, the son of wrestler Jim Hussey, and the father of boxer, Rocco Hussey. But I'm going to tell you what, think about this. In the 70s and 80s, he's going to New Japan, okay, as Black Tiger. He appeared regularly on World of Sport, feuded with many of the top lightweight wrestlers, including Marty Jones and the Dynamite Kid. Kendo Nagasaki, someone you might know right here, billed in the UK as Sammy Lee. Who might that be, Jeremy?
Sammy Lee.
Sammy Lee.
I don't know. Who?
Tora Sayama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was Sammy Lee over there in England. And that's why when he went to Japan, they feuded under both masks. Sayama, as you know, Tiger Mask, and Rocco under his nemesis, the Black Tiger. So I think you're doing yourself a discredit if you're a wrestling fan and you don't go look up Mark Rollerball Rocco and watch some of his matches because a guy can go. And you think about that. He had to be able to go if he's working with Tiger Mask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. I didn't know. Yeah, I wouldn't have figured he'd wrestled under such a generic name in the UK. So this guy, Mark Rocco, I kept coming across this name for the last 2 years, and I keep writing it down as a note, hey, go check this guy out. Go check this guy out. One of the things. So yeah, I mean, you're a Malenko guy, so you're going to understand what I'm saying here. I like mat wrestling. I like technical wrestling. I like joint locks. That's why I love to watch Dean Malenko wrestle,
Right.
And when you watch British wrestling, it seems to be a lot more focused on that stuff. They get a guy down on an arm bar, they start tweaking their fingers and things, to apply further wrist pressure and blah, blah, blah. You worked in London. Did you see anything over there that would explain why that was more over than the garbage we got over? And when I say garbage, I mean punch and kick and fucking drop kicks, blah, blah, blah. Is there a cultural difference you think that applied to that? Or is it just that's what they had, so that's what they liked?
I think it's because that's what they had and that's what they liked. I also think, and if you, again, this is just my opinion, but I think even on that short video with Dave Knows Wrestling, think about this. After World War II, that country, the devastation that took place in that country, they've seen reality and they had to rebuild. They had to rebuild, So I think they're used to being able to go down to a pub and seeing two guys brawl for real, fighters, if you will. And so if they go to the matches, they don't want to see something phony. They don't want to see the weapons. They want to see two men in combat. And when it says wrestling, I think they appreciate the fact that it says wrestling, and they go the billboard says wrestling, and when they go in, they see it. I looked up one of the gentlemen on this list here, and I got three good arm things off of it, and I showed it to Psych Ward, one of the other trainers at the FTC Art of Grappling camp, and he was doing it by Thursday. The show pony has taken a little twist off of an arm wrench that she's added something to it due to her flexibility. So we took some of the lessons that I picked up while I was re-looking through this list and watching some of the matches. And I just said, here's some suggestions, guys. And I talked them through it and showed them. And I swear to you, just the little tweaks made a big difference, Jeremy, in how an arm bar looked. We noticed a couple guys did an arm bar in front of the person instead of out to the side, and how much more you could do work-wise on that. Again, I have to say, due to our grappling school, someone brought it to my attention, and it was they asked me about Johnny Saint, and I kept looking at this, and I was like, oh man, let me see how he does this. And he actually has a little seminar on TV, on the YouTube channel there. And I can't remember, it might have been her to just type his name and you'll find it. But anyway, he worked the armbar from the front, and he was able to do something really fancy with the arm, the way he wrenched it and turned it around, like you said, interlocking those fingers and things. That made it really hard if you try to do that from the side. And it's really impressive because you're like, oh, you being a fan of that style, like you just now said, I think you really appreciate just how someone, how you have someone a standing side arm bar. When they switch that around to the front and they're face to face and they've got them in an arm bar, the possibilities are endless how you can do. Again, I learned a lot just in the last couple of weeks by watching some of these videos myself, and again, took it back to our grappling and said, hey, here's how you do it. I've never done it, but here's how you do it because I know how things work, and I noticed, oh, here's what's going on. You're not getting it because you're on the side. Stand in front of them. Now watch this. Drop down. Do this. And it was like I was a student of the game for the last 2 weeks myself. And I pride myself on that because like I told the students, it's like Carl Gott said, and I heard him say it. If you're in a wrestling business, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And he said, you might as well be, when you stop learning, you are the bull in the ring. Don't be the bull in the ring. Always learn. And so, you know how that goes. Who the fuck wants to be the bull in the ring? I don't think they have bullfighting much anymore, but nonetheless, you don't want to be the fucking one dying, right? You
Typically,
want to be
no.
learning.
Yeah.
Learning. So with that, we had some good classes this week. But again, number 7, let me go through 10 again real quickly. At the top, we had Big Daddy. Number 9, we had Marty Jones. Did I lose you?
No, you started to drop out there, but you're back.
Finley. Okay. And number 7, we had Rollerball Rocco. And we'll go into number 6. So I'll let you introduce them, and I'll be more than glad to talk a little bit about it.
All right. Robbie Brookside is number 6. And you were already saying that you were running around with this guy a bit. So tell us about what you know about Robbie Brookside.
Yeah, man. Robbie was so talented. He's only a couple years younger than myself. And he had just got back from a tour of Germany when I was over in England. The thing about Robbie Brookside, he was in WCW for about 6 months while I was there. I saw him on several tapings, was always kind and courteous to him, spoke to him, didn't have a whole lot of reaction other than professionalism, and knew who each other was. So the very first day I get to England, I had heard, because one of my friends, Mark Mercedes, was in Germany, and he knew Robbie, and of course Mark had been in my home, and I'd helped train him way back in Tampa and been to Australia with him and this and that. Robbie Brookside sent word that if he ran into Bobby Blaze, that he was going to buy Bobby Blaze a beer for kicking out of Alex Wright's finish on TV. He happened to be there that day in Sarasota, Florida, that I kicked out of TV, or kicked out of the finish on TV. Might as well say I kicked out of TV, yeah. Anyway, so first day on tour, me and Chad Collier and Perry Russo, Joe Kimball, the Mad Russian Dog, Perry Russo, we had been touring Japan together, and we had about 3 weeks off, and then we went and signed up for a damn tour of England together for a month. And that was really fun. How we didn't tear each other's heads off, I don't know. but you become brothers instead of enemies, when you travel with the same group of guys every day. You just get on a buddy system, and you start working out, you do this, you're eating the same food, you're drinking the same beer. It's just crazy. But anyway, we go to the Isle of Wight, and it's about a 45-minute ferry ride over from where we caught the ferry at. And I'm sitting in the locker room. I'm looking out a window, and I got my back to the door. Robbie Brookside was scheduled, but he wasn't on our ferry, so he must have came on the next ferry. So, I don't know, an hour or two went by. He walks into the locker room, and he starts talking. And I can't remember who he's talked to right away, but he ends up talking to Joe. And I hear him out to the door there, and they mention the Armstrong name. And I don't even turn around. I say, them Armstrong boys, man, I'd I never did like him, guys. I never did too much about him. And I hear him go, what? He says, what? He go, what? What? I never hear nothing bad about the Armstrongs. I can't do a British accent, just saying. And I turn around and I said, Robbie. He said, oh, Bobby Blaze, man. I said, before you get on me about the Armstrong, I love those guys. And second of all, word is you owe me one beer. And he said, man, I'm going to buy you two. You kicked off Alex Rice Finish down here in Florida when I was there. I gave him a big hug, and that's how we started becoming friends right there, just off a rib and worldwide travel of, hey, I owe that guy a beer. And we did put some away, I'll say that. And of the 30 days I was there, like I said, I had a day off here or there. I probably wrestled Robbie 10 of those times. Like I said, some of the matches, it may have just went right in after we went to the several towns. We did these holiday towns. They're known as holiday tours. You go to a campsite basically where there's hundreds and maybe even 1,000 people that camp at these vacation places, and they all have these big rec centers and activities throughout the day and stuff, and they actually have professional wrestling around lunchtime in those campsites. Big, nice facilities, not a campsite like you're thinking little Yogi Bear around a campfire. I'm talking about a big, huge building, a dining hall type atmosphere,
Yeah,
where the holidayers or day trippers go to them, and anyway, I got to wrestle Robbie quite a bit, but man, he broke in at a very young age. He wrestled, like it says right here, Pleasure Beach in Blackpool and Brian Dixon. Now, I wrestled some from Brian Dixon on these holiday camps, as I mentioned there, and he wrestled
excuse me.
Lose my place there. And he was a tag team regular with Steven Regal as the Golden Boys. And I'm telling you, there's some old matches on there, and it has him and Regal, both of them so young, man. I mean, I'm talking like 16 and 18 years old, something like that. And you can just really see the talent in him, man. And again, it's just one of those things. If you don't know who Robbie Brookside is, he's currently working for WWF, as far as I know. He's a trainer for, he's been down there for 7 years or so, but he teaches at the WWE Performance Center, and I think he still has some recruiting he does from over in England as well. And I think he teaches the first to 4 level classes they have there at the Star City Entertainment Center. That's what I'm looking at. Sorry, training center. Did I say that out loud? Entertainment. Anyway, any other question about Robbie? He's a hell of a talented guy. I'll tell you that, man.
No,
and
I think
a good guy.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of covers it. I just love hearing that somebody got you a beer for kicking out of that.
Yeah, he did. We bought some beer while we was there. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I'll say that. We did one of those holiday camps one day. And hell, I was doing a double shot. Me and Chad and Joe, you pick up like an extra 50 pounds or maybe 75 pounds. 75 pounds maybe equal to $50. So Brian would do a daytime show, and then the other promoter had a regular town booked maybe an hour and a half away. So, you get back in a van at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You still had a couple hours to go, and you could do the evening show. But because Chad and Joe and myself were the foreigners, we was trying to make as much money as we could. And also they got exposure for their show, working for the other promoter, bringing an American in, not just your, everyday British wrestlers. And some of them days, just get in a van, kind of like Henry Rollins, get in a van. Yep. I'd get in the ring, I'd get in the van, have some beer, get to the next arena, fall asleep in the ring until they start letting people at the door, get up, take a shower, go get your shit on and wrestle again that night. And as soon as that night's over, it's like they're bringing the beer's already bringing them back to the locker rooms,
Yeah.
So I drank some good beer in England. I really did. There's some good beer. I liked it. I really did. Several different ones. None of them come to mind right this second, but
there's a bunch of them, man. There's this weird concept that they drink beer warm in the UK. Now they drink at cellar temperature, which is a hell of a lot colder than room temperature. Yeah.
Caffrey. I drank one called Caffrey, and it was really good. At one point, you could get it in the United States. I used to get it up east at a liquor store up east, and all of a sudden it stopped, and basically what happened was I think the Coors Brewing Company was the one bringing it in, and they stopped. And so it's not something you get in the States anymore.
Gotcha.
But it was really good. That one there comes top of my head, But anyway, let's move on here. I'll let you introduce number 5. I already mentioned them, and you tell us a little bit about them, and then I'll talk some.
Well, Bobby, I'm gonna throw this to you real quick. We just hit an hour. Do you want to split?
Okay.
Do you want to split this in 2, or do you want to keep going?
Yes, I do. I tell you what, I was hoping before we started this, I said to myself, I think this podcast is going to be a 2-hour podcast. It's going to be that good. And I think it's been that good.
I think so.
Okay, well, let's do this. Called Audible. Let's stop right now. We got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 to go. We've got stories with each of them. We went number 6, Brookside. Number 7, Rollerball Rocco. 8 was Fit Finley. 9 was Marty Jones, and 10 was Big Daddy.
Yep.
Let's stay on course with this, and let's pick up next week with number 5 of the greatest of the top 10 British wrestlers of all time.
Fantastic.
Close us out, Jeremy.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening this week. For the late Tex Johnson, myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmur, and Arn Henderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, Bobby.
Yes.
Are we going to see them at the matches?
See you at the fairs, wrestling fans. God damn, you got me off. See you at the matches, wrestling fans.